Welcome to Pencil Paper Plots.
The show where we really get into the nuts and bolts of iconic screenplays.
We tear them apart to see exactly how the masters, how they built these incredible narrative machines. And today, we are taking our exploration into the crushing dark.
We are. We're analyzing a script that is arguably James Cameron's most structurally ambitious work.
I think so. We are diving deep into the 1988 director's revision shooting script for The Abyss.
And when you actually read this blueprint, you realize Cameron wasn't really writing one single movie.
No.
He was writing this stack of layered genres.
Layering is what makes it so fascinating to break down. The logline itself, it feels simple on the surface.
It does. It combines this really intense personal drama of a failing marriage.
Right.
With this high-stakes, geopolitical tension of a sunken nuclear submarine.
And then, just when you think you know what the movie is, it pivots into this profound, epic first contact science fiction. It's a masterclass, a total masterclass in just escalating stakes from the personal to the cosmic.
So our mission today is to track exactly how Cameron pulls this off, how he uses that specialized language, the claustrophobic staging, all of it.
We want to see how he builds that suffocating pressure. And we mean both the literal pressure of the deep ocean and the emotional pressure that's just squeezing these characters.
All culminating in what is, I think we can agree, one of the greatest sci-fi payoff shots in history.
Oh, absolutely. And just as we get started, I think we should clarify a term we'll be using a lot.
Good idea.
The non-terrestrial intelligence, or NTI.
The NTI is right. This is the key alien concept in the film.
And what's so brilliant about how Cameron introduces this, he takes this truly alien, almost ethereal idea and introduces it using the really familiar tactile language of deep-sea exploration.
Which forces you, the audience, to immediately ground the fantastic in the factual.
Exactly. And speaking of grounding the fantastic, here's a tip for all you writers right at the top.
Notice how fast Cameron establishes the stakes. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't spend any time setting up characters or the oil rig.
Not at all. We go from total dark calm to global catastrophe in, the first few pages?
He uses a cold open perfectly. It's all about maximum impact and starting that narrative ticking clock immediately.
Okay, so let's get into it. Act 1. The script begins with the sinking of the USS Montana.
An opening sequence that is just. It's textbook. A perfect example of creating tension through implication and sound.
We're immediately put in the attack center, which the script describes as darkened to womb red.
Such a primal image. Right away, it signals danger, isolation. Being somewhere you're not supposed to be.
And the initial tension is all acoustic. It's all sound. We're just listening to the sonar man Barnes report on something that is, it's utterly impossible.
He keeps running his checks, right? He notes this unique signature. No cavitation, no reactor noise.
That absence of sound, of the familiar mechanical noise you'd expect, that so much more terrifying than a big roar would be.
Oh, way more. It's the sound of something alien moving through our reality.
And the escalation just relies on numbers. The bogey is first clocked at 60 knots.
Which is already pushing the limit for any submarine we know of.
Then it climbs 80 knots. Then a terrifying 130 knots.
Cameron gets that just increasing the speed in a confined space like the ocean is an immediate shorthand for an unstoppable threat.
And the dialogue just sells the impossibility. The EXEC shouts, "Nothing goes 130."
And that one line, it just shatters the audience's sense of physics, of military reality. It's a character-driven way of telling you the rules have changed.
But at the same time, he's rooting the scene in this overwhelming reality through all the jargon.
All the naval terminology, yeah.
We know it's an Ohio-class SSBN. We know they're in the Cayman Trough. This precise language makes the breach of reality when the NTI scout ship passes feel like a massive invasion of a very strictly defined world.
Then you get the kinetic chaos. The sub is slammed sideways by this shockwave. The script details this brutal failure sequence. Hydraulic failure, planes not responding.
And then that awful scrape along the cliff wall. The script literally calls for an ear-splitting kukwang.
And the climax of this whole opening is pure horror.
The hatches in the torpedo room bust open, and these 2-foot-thick columns of water, like fire hoses of the gods, blast into the room.
And the sub just slides down the cliff, its hull screeching like the death agonies of some marine dinosaur, and then it just vanishes 20,000 feet down into the abyss.
Which sets the physical stakes for the entire story. Absolute crushing pressure, lethal isolation.
And then the structural brilliance of what he does next is the immediate tonal whiplash.
Total whiplash. The pace just snaps from this global military catastrophe to the sort of domestic reality of the deep core drilling platform.
It's a way of resetting the emotional clock.
Mm.
We drop from a 20,000-foot fall to the crew making jokes at 1,700 feet.
What does that shift do for an audience?
It lets us breathe for a second, and it establishes the world that we're about to fight to save. We meet Bud Brigman, the tool pusher.
The competent, colloquial, just down-to-earth leader.
And Deepcore II is described as an island of light in the blackness. Bud and his crew, Catfish, Hippie, Jammer, they're a family. They're comfortable in their dark, pressurized home.
They're oil workers, not soldiers. Their banter is so crucial for establishing the normal that's about to be shattered.
And that shattering comes with the inciting incident. The military arrives.
Naval officers, led by Commodore DeMarco, who's described as hardcore, military, brusque, and efficient. And with him is the company man, Kirkhill.
Who is instantly defined by wearing a shirt and tie, which on a drill ship means company man and monitor dickhead.
That is script economy at its absolute finest. One line defines class, conflict, and character.
So the mission is Operation Salver. They need to use the Deepcore Cruise divers to search the Montana because a storm is coming and they are the fastest option.
This immediately sets up that central conflict, the civilian versus military divide.
Right. And Bud draws this hard ethical line. He tells DeMarco, point blank.
When it comes to the safety of these people, there's me, then there's God. Understand, if things get dicey, I'm pulling the plug.
And that line is so essential.
You think so? I mean, isn't it a bit blunt? Could he have shown it instead of just having Bud state it?
I think it's necessary here. Because the military antagonist, Coffey, who we're about to meet, is the absolute opposite. He's mission first, people second.
So Bud's line is like a structural marker.
Exactly. The audience needs to know, without a doubt, that Bud's fight won't be against the ocean. It's going to be against the military guy who doesn't care about the human cost.
Yeah.
That line is the foundation for his whole arc.
Okay, so then Cameron shifts again. From the geopolitical to the intensely personal with the introduction of Lindsey.
She arrives via fast rope from a helicopter in a storm. I mean, what an entrance. Immediately established as tough, professional.
And the detail about her holding her Charles Jourdan's fives in a plastic bag in her teeth.
Phenomenal character shorthand. She's out of place, but completely capable. She's the project engineer. She designed the rig, and she is furious. Bud let the Navy grab my rig.
And this leads right into that raw emotional tension with Bud, her ex-husband.
Who she calls Virgil.
Yeah. The dialogue is just tight and venomous. She calls him a wimp for not standing up to the company.
And the core of their conflict is laid bare.
Yeah.
Her career-driven nature versus his, laid-back, easygoing attitude.
And then we get that incredible nonverbal beat, the one that shows Bud just can't let go.
The wedding ring. After she forces him out of his stateroom, he goes to the head. He pulls off his titanium wedding ring.
Which, as an MIT grad, she definitely would have picked for its cold, technical perfection.
Right, and he throws it in the toilet.
But he can't do it. He immediately regrets it. He reaches in, wrist deep in the chemical blue water, and salvages the ring.
And here's the kicker. This is where Cameron forges that thematic link. The final detail in that scene is the right hand stays faintly blue no matter how hard he scrubs.
The writer has literally stained Bud with the relationship he can't escape. That blue stain is just its visual thematic gold.
It powers his entire sacrifice in Act 3. It sets up that his love for Lindsey, even in its toxic form, is deeper and more durable than the titanium of the ring itself.
It's an incredibly efficient way to establish the personal stakes that are going to anchor all the world-saving action later on.
So as we move into Act 2, Cameron shifts the focus again. It's less about military versus civilian and more about humanity versus the environment, and Bud versus Coffey.
To do that, he first has to establish the rules of this extreme environment, specifically the tech that's going to make the climax possible.
The SEALs arrive, led by Lieutenant Coffey. He's intense, focused, all business.
And then we get the crucial piece of setup, the fluid breathing system, the FBS Mark IV deep suit.
Which allows you to breathe liquid fluorocarbon emulsion to avoid getting the bends at crushing depths. And Monk demonstrates it with Beanie the Rat.
He just drops the rat into this box of liquid.
And Catfish's reaction is our reaction, right? He's the audience surrogate here, grappling with this impossible idea. You're saying you get liquid in your lungs.
And then the rat just breathes it, swims around. The script calls it no bullshit, hands down the goddamnedest thing I ever saw.
This is textbook screenwriting. You introduce a piece of fantastic tech, you prove it works with a low-stakes character, Beanie the Rat, and now the audience accepts it.
So when our hero, Bud, needs it later for a life or death situation, we're already on board. We believe it's possible.
It buys the realism for that final act dive. But during that long 6-hour compression, Cameron starts seeding Coffey's psychological collapse.
Right. Lindsey, being the curious scientist she is, tries to peek into one of the SEAL's equipment cases.
And she gets a glimpse of a small black metal box, the nuclear launch device, before Coffey slams it shut.
And gives her that really ominous warning, curiosity killed the cat.
But the more subtle detail is about Coffey himself. The script shows us his fingertips trembling the slightest bit, a detail he quickly hides by making a fist.
That tremor is the ticking clock of his breakdown from high-pressure nervous syndrome, HPNS.
And we really need to understand what this is. This isn't just a plot device.
No, HPNS is a real medical condition in deep saturation diving.
Right. It's caused by the extreme pressure, the helium-oxygen mix, affecting your central nervous system. It leads to dizziness, nausea, tremors.
And critically for the story, cognitive dysfunction, paranoia, even outright psychosis.
So Cameron takes a genuine medical constraint and weaponizes it as a character flaw. Coffey's professionalism is literally being eroded by the environment itself.
He's not just a villain, he's a soldier being compromised by his mission environment.
Exactly. He's a ticking bomb.
So the next phase, they go to search the wreck of the Montana.
And this scene just cranks up the stakes using claustrophobia and psychological trauma. The wreck is described as bigger than the Titanic and just as eerie.
They find the dead sonarman, Barnes, looking merely dismayed at his own mortality. It's such a chilling detail.
And Coffey just pushes the body aside. All business. Highlighting that ruthless military mandate.
But Bud, our compassionate leader, sees the trauma hitting his own men. Jammer starts hyperventilating.
Catfish is muttering that the money isn't worth it.
And Bud's job becomes emotional management. Deep and slow, big guy, deep and slow. He's trying to project a calm he doesn't feel.
Meanwhile, the SEALs are doing their secret mission, planting thermite charges to sanitize the sub. Coffey gets the code books and the missile arming key.
But then the stakes just explode when Lindsey does the math.
She calculates the full payload. 24 Trident missiles, 8 MIRVs per missile.
192 warheads. And she grounds that number with the line, Jesus Christ, this is World War III in a can.
The entire narrative just shifts. It's not a recovery mission anymore. It's about preventing a global catastrophe.
What's so masterful here is how Cameron moves seamlessly from that geopolitical threat to the internal psychological threat that introduces the NTIs.
The first contact sequence is brilliant because he tells it from two completely different points of view.
First, Jammer's encounter. The NTI reveals itself through fear.
His lights dim, his lifeline gets severed. He sees a faint radiance, this amorphous, inhuman figure. It induces a seizure HPNS, but triggered by pure terror.
And Coffey just dismisses it. Regulator failure. He's protecting his own fragile sense of control.
But then Lindsey's encounter is all about wonder.
Her lights dim, and this glowing, translucent ovoid scout ship appeared, moving like a bat out of hell.
She describes it as non-human, gliding, beautiful. It pulls this high G turn and just dives down the abyss wall like a hit-and-run drunk.
This dual perspective monster versus mystery. Is Cameron telling us that the NTI is neutral? It's a mirror?
It just reflects the character's internal state. Jammer, who is terrified and suffocating, sees a horror. Lindsey, the curious scientist, sees beauty and potential.
And this moment of intellectual conflict is just violently interrupted by the midpoint disaster.
Hurricane Frederick hits the surface. The umbilical cable, the rig's lifeline, snaps, and it pulls the massive crane over the edge.
Which gives us this incredible kinetic action sequence, the crane tumbling down towards Deepcore like a 40-ton yo-yo.
The action lines in the script here are just designed for maximum destruction.
Deepcore gets hit, it's rocked, and it starts to slide down the slope until it just stops, hanging over the edge of the Cayman Trough.
And in that moment, Cameron structurally cuts them off from the world. 4 crewmen are dead. They are utterly alone, with 12 hours of oxygen and a highly unstable commando.
Maximum isolation, maximum pressure. The environment itself is now a tangible, malicious antagonist.
And now the psychological tension just completely overtakes the military plot. We see Coffey deteriorating fast.
When Bud confronts him about one of his SEALs dying in the crane disaster, Coffey gives that chilling, subdued line.
I was under orders. I had no choice. He's retreating into institutional loyalty because the human cost is too much to handle.
This leads right to the critical scene that clarifies what the NTI is really about, the water tentacle.
That mysterious light rises from the moon pool, and it forms a shimmering pseudopod, searching silently.
Its movement is hypnotic, and when it reaches Lindsey, it stops. And the script calls for this astounding visual. The tick forms into her face, a perfect silent mimic.
Lindsey gets it immediately. It's trying to communicate. It then mimics Bud's face.
She tests it, realizes it's just seawater, and then comes that playful demonstration.
The disappearing knot trick, which confirms the NTI is intelligent, it's curious, and it's not hostile. It completely validates Lindsey's point of view.
But then the water tentacle makes a critical mistake. It tries to investigate the armed MIRV warhead that Coffey has moved.
It's just being curious, but Coffey interprets it as a direct threat.
And this is where his psychosis becomes violent. Seeing Russians in fear, as Lindsey says later, he slices the pseudopod.
He and Sinek heave on the massive door, just slicing through the NTI's hand. It's blind, destructive military instinct against benevolent curiosity.
The physical proof of his psychosis comes right after. He takes his KBR knife and starts drawing it slowly and repeatedly across the skin of the other forearm,
leaving these neat chevrons of blood. The script shows us he's physically managing his internal pressure, keeping his edge through self-harm. He thinks he's at war.
He's fully committed to Phase 3, using the big ROV, Big Geek, to deploy the nuclear warhead to the NTI city. He believes the civilians are compromised.
His eyes are described as hard and bright as diamond drills.
This is the moment the civilians have to fight back, and Cameron gives us these beautiful payoffs for characters he set up earlier.
Hippie, the paranoid stoner, is the one who catches the SEALs on camera with the warhead.
And that video proof is what fuels Lindsey's confrontation. Does this strike anyone as particularly psychotic, or is it just me?
Coffey, totally manic now, initiates the mutiny, bursts in with an assault rifle, declares Phase 3, and tapes Lindsey's mouth shut.
A horrific physical symbol of his need to silence rational thought.
What's interesting is how the script uses Coffey's own men against him. He orders Monk, one of his own SEALs, to hold a pistol on the crew.
And Monk hesitates, he's torn, he sees his superior is unstable, the human loyalty is starting to crack that military code.
But the real payoff is Jammer, the traumatized giant. He bursts in, having woken up and overpowered the other SEAL.
And he says he figured he was dead anyway when I seen that angel coming toward me. The NTI's appearance, which was first a source of terror, became his awakening. It transformed his fear into defiance.
So with the crew free, they lock Coffey in the sub-bay. Bud and Catfish decide to free swim through the freezing water to get to him.
And Catfish gives Hippie his wallet, case I don't die. It's just this perfect moment of grim blue-collar fatalism.
The fight that follows in the sub-bay is brutal, frantic. It takes Catfish and his famous hammer punch to finally knock Coffey out.
But Coffey manages to get into the sub, flatbed, and he submerges with the warhead.
Bud gets dragged down with him, but manages to tie a safety line to Big Geek just as Coffey activates it to dive to the bottom. It sets up the final chase.
And Lindsey arrives in the other sub, Cab 1, and engages Coffey in this thrilling underwater dogfight.
She slams her smaller sub into his, and she forces Flatbed to tumble over the edge of the abyss.
The description of Coffey's death is so perfectly scripted. It's this moment of inescapable consequence.
The hull groans, a tiny silver fracture appears on the dome, and then the bubble just implodes. He disappears in a bloody froth of churning water, air, and glass shards.
The pressure that started as psychological finally delivers a physical, violent end.
But Cab 1 is totaled. It's flooding. They only have 2 feet of air left, and the nuke is still heading for the bottom.
This sets up the terrifying, impossible emotional core of the film. The personal arc has to resolve before the global arc can be saved.
They only have one deep diving suit, the FBS suit. And Lindsey, the brilliant engineer, does the math. She knows the limitations.
She proposes the only way for both of them to survive. Bud has to use the suit.
And she has to drown. So he can tow her back, and they can try to revive her from deep hypothermia. She's calculated the odds.
And Bud's emotional breaking point is scripted so perfectly. Lindsey says, "Now be logical, Bud."
But his emotional imperative is stronger than logic. Stronger than anything. He just screams back, FCK logic.
And that is Cameron making sure we know this isn't a clinical decision. This is an act of desperate love overcoming analysis. Their whole failing marriage arc hinges on this moment.
She kisses him fiercely, this final commitment, before pulling the helmet over his head.
Her last silent words to him are scripted as these heartbreaking action lines. She's looking straight into his eyes, her lips moving, saying, hold me, Bud, I'm so scared."
And Bud just has to watch as the freezing water floods her lungs. It's the ultimate low point of his journey. We realize that blue stain on his hand, that residual commitment he couldn't wash away. It's being consecrated by this act of ultimate love.
The revival scene that follows is just as draining. Bud is in a frenzy. The crew gives up. They see her as a corpse.
But he won't. He's manic, tearing off her shirt, demanding they zap her again. Over and over, he's fighting against the reality of death.
The turning point is when Catfish says, "Bud, it's over, ma'am." That resignation from his loyal friend just fuels Bud's refusal to accept it.
He launches into this passionate kiss of life, just locking his lips over hers.
And his words are the real key to resolving their relationship. "God damn it, you bitch. You never back down from anything in life. Now fight."
He literally wills her back, and she comes hacking and howling back into the world. A miraculous rebirth fueled by his devotion. The love story is resolved.
And that provides the perfect emotional anchor for the climax. It proves that the personal relationship is the true high stake.
With that anchor secured, Bud has to make the record-breaking plunge, 18,000 feet down, using the fluid breathing system.
And he's relying completely on Lindsey's voice as his emotional lifeline against the deep-sea effects.
He's getting the tremors, terrifying hallucinations, the spectral 100-foot-wide form of Lindsey's face gazing at him. He's experiencing full-blown HPNS.
He types a frantic message, "You're going away!" He feels his tether to her slipping.
And Lindsey responds with the perfect callback. She transforms this drunken memory of two tiny candles in the dark into the guiding light of the universe.
"Bud, there are two candles in the dark. I'm with you. I'll always be with you."
It's the script's core theme. Commitment is the only thing that can defeat the darkness.
So Bud reaches the bottom, 3.5 miles down. The script describes it as beautiful. He finds Big Geek and the warhead. 10 minutes of oxygen left.
The tension is agonizing. Monk tells him to cut the blue wire with a white stripe.
But in the green glow of his little light stick, the two wires look identical. He has to rely purely on faith and precision under impossible stress.
After a long beat, he cuts the wire, and there's just silence. Until the screen prints, "Still here."
The relief is immediate, but short-lived. He knows he's out of air. He can't get back.
So he types his ultimate act of self-sacrifice. "No. Think you'll stay a while. Beautiful here. Worth admission."
And then his final personal message that ties everything together. The blue ring, the kiss of life. "Love you, wife."
But his death is averted. True first contact follows. He's saved by an NTI being, described as transparent, glowing, like blown glass.
He's taken to their magnificent, luminous city.
And then the NTIs reveal their message. They show him the global news, nuclear brinkmanship, and then the horrifying history of human warfare. Auschwitz, Vietnam, car bombs, an indictment of our destructive nature.
And it's key that they use our mass media to show him this. They're using human tools to communicate human barbarity.
And then the ultimate demonstration of their power. They raise these impossible walls of water, tsunamis 2,500 feet tall, around the world.
New York, Santa Monica, Kamchatka. Symbolic locations representing finance, culture, and geopolitical tension.
We see the frenzied reporters, screaming crowds, the water towering over the Statue of Liberty. We're at the peak of terror, thinking this is it.
And then the waves just stop, motionless.
And they soundlessly subside. They didn't punish us, they taught us. It was a calculated pedagogical act delivered with overwhelming visual power.
The message is sent. They want us to grow up a bit and put away childish things. Of course, it's just a suggestion.
Back in the abyss, they show Bud his own final message, "Love you, wife." They're acknowledging that his personal act of love aligns with their cosmic message of peace.
The final deliverance is this beautiful impossibility. The NTI city itself rises to the surface, lifting the Deepcore crew with it.
And because the NTIs did something to them, they surface instantly without getting the bends.
As Catfish says, our blood ought to be fizzing like a warm shook-up Coke, but it's not. The laws of physics have been permanently altered by this contact.
And the final, intimate resolution seals the character arc. Bud surfaces, reborn. Lindsey runs to him.
They stop, and she says, through tears and laughter, "Hello, Brigman."
And his simple, perfect reply, resolving all the tension of their relationship.
"Hello, Mrs. Brigman."
A completely earned moment. The world is saved because two people chose commitment over logic and survival.
So let's talk takeaways for writers. First, Cameron's structural brilliance in layering genre. Yeah, he starts as a military thriller, shifts to a disaster movie, builds a psychological horror.
And only then finishes as this profound first contact sci-fi epic. Each layer uses the tension from the last to just keep raising the ceiling.
And aspiring writers, you have to remember this. Always anchor the world-saving action to the character arc. Bud disarms the nuke out of love and self-sacrifice. His love for Lindsey is literally stronger than 18,000 feet of water pressure.
Second tip, use specific visual beats and payoffs. Make abstract concepts stick.
The blue-stained wedding ring, the rat-breathing fluid, the NTI mimicking faces, the two candles in the dark.
These details become crucial memory markers for the audience. They turn simple objects into thematic gold.
And finally, tension through constraints. The most intense moments. The drowning in cab one, cutting the right wire, they're all generated by restricting the hero's ability to act and magnifying the ticking clock.
These constraints force creativity and demand emotional vulnerability.
The Abyss script really proves that a massive sci-fi setting is only as strong as its most intimate human story.
The core conflict isn't about aliens or nukes. It's about two people fighting to stay connected against impossible crushing odds.
Absolutely. So if you're looking to build that kind of multi-genre tension and make your emotional payoff land, go back and read this script. Pay attention to how all the technical rules are established long before they become essential to the plot.
We hope you gain some deep insight into how to build those layered stakes and unforgettable character moments in your next project.
And here's a final thought for you to mull over. If the NTIs intervened out of concern for our self-destruction, what does their decision to simply suggest we grow up instead of forcing it tell us about their true wisdom when it comes to free will? Something to think about until next time.